Welcome to the Viking Age podcast, the official podcast of the VikingAge.com. My name is Chris Schad. I write for the Viking Age as well as Zone Coverage, Bring Me the News, and the Brookings Register. My co-host, you see him on the right. He is Thor Nystrom of Fantasy Life. And we do this right here on the Viking Age YouTube channel every Monday with a late week episode. We're also in podcast form on Apple and Spotify the very next day. But however you consume us, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe so you never miss an episode and we can spread the word to the masses. Now, Thor, you usually have a spot on Score North. It's called Thor's Days. I love it. It's great. But you wanted to take your hammer to this Cam Robinson trade right away. So I said, why not? So, Thor, what are your thoughts on the Vikings acquiring Cam Robinson?
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me. And yeah, we're not doing Thursday till tomorrow, but I had some takes to drop, so appreciate you having me on. I got into some arguments last night on Twitter about this, my take is here, you've already blown up the latter part of next year's draft. You don't have a day 2 pick. You don't have a 4th round pick. You have 2 5ths. You don't have a 6th or a 7th. And then you had already made the trade to give up draft equity for Cam Akers, RB2 at best, or RB3. He is not ascended to RB2 yet. Previously in the 2026 draft, now you are giving up a 4th round pick in 2026. If this trade works out at all, people want to be like, oh, it was just a 5th. No. It's a conditional 5th that goes to a 4th based on playing time, i.e., if Cam Robinson isn't playing, you've given away a free 5th round pick. If he's in the lineup, you have traded a 4th round pick for 10 games of Cam Robinson. And sure, it's in 2026. It's not this coming class. It's the class after that. Every time you trade one of those future picks, you are giving yourself less flexibility, even if you don't end up using the selection, less ammunition, et cetera. And if you do, just the pick in the vacuum, I don't think this is a scandalous take at all. I would prefer 5 years of a 4th round pick, even starting in 2026, at a peanut salary over 10 games of Cam Robinson in this the rest of this season, when I believe it is only a marginal improvement to what you have on hand, and it is not a needle moving transaction. So to me, you're giving up an asset and you're not getting a ton in return.
Like, here's what I think about the trade. And by the way, if you did not see the trade last night, maybe you were running around, here's what it is. Jaguars get a 2026 5th round selection that can become a 4th rounder based on playing time. We don't know the exact specifics of that playing time, but as Thor alluded to, I assume if he starts the final 10 games, the Jaguars do get that 4th round pick. Vikings get Cam Robinson, an offensive tackle, a 2026 7th round pick that can go away based on that playing time incentive. Cam Robinson, final year of his contract. He will be a free agent. He is 33rd among all qualifying offensive tackles in overall PFF grade this year. 15 pressures this season, and he also got benched in favor of Walker Little coming out off a concussion. Shout out to Wally Pipp, by the way, if he's still kicking around here. Here's what I think about the trade, and I see both sides. We'll get to both sides of it. Did Kwesi just make another panic trade? Because we saw it last year. Kirk Cousins tears his Achilles. The Vikings probably are going to start sinking like a rock. Danielle Hunter is right there, so you could trade for more draft capital and start this rebuild, and they go ahead and get Josh Dobbs. Like, if you're trading for Cam Robinson, what is David Questenberry even doing on the roster, or even Walter Rouse for that matter? This team had other needs before Darrisaw got hurt, and, defensive tackle is one. A lot of people, me included, would love to see them take a swing and go get Jeffrey Simmons or Dexter Lawrence. They need a quarterback because nobody can play man. And like we said, they trade for Cam Akers, but running back is still a depth. Like, do you think this is another panic trade by Kwesi, maybe to get a new contract from the Wilfs?
I love that you evoke the Dobbs trade, because this is not a hindsight thing. You could literally go back on my Twitter timeline to when that trade happened. And in advance of it, I was arguing the same stuff that I am now of, this is not a Super Bowl contender. Therefore, and there's nothing that you can do to make it so this season. Therefore, exactly what you proposed was what I was arguing at the time of this isn't a buy time, this is a sell time, or stay on pat time if you want to do that and just roll it over to the next year. But why are you stealing from the future to, again, incrementally help out a present that is not going to lead to a Super Bowl? I see this in binary terms. If you can't win a Super Bowl today, I think the only course of action is to make moves to improve your odds of winning a Super Bowl in the future. And the Dobbs trade, I felt at the time I said it was on my Twitter, that was just wasting draft equity, literally just squandering draft equity and for a non-needle mover. I think that's what this is as well. It's a 10-game rental of Cam Robinson. You mentioned he's a free agent at the end of this season. I see not only people arguing, about this thing, but I also see fallacies about it, that misconceptions that the public has. And one of them, the most generous interpretation you see of this was like, oh, they traded sure, it'll be the 4th rounder, but then, Cam Robinson, he's clearly going to help out the team this year. Then he's going to hit free agency. Then the Vikings will get back a comp pick, and it'll probably be a 4th round comp pick. So you're barely going to lose anything at the end of the day. People don't seem to understand the comp process at all. They think it's just about, if you lose a guy, then you get a comp pick back. That's not what the formula is. It's qualifying free agents, not only that are signed, but also that leave your organization. The Vikings are projected to have the 6th most salary cap room in the NFL this offseason. They are going to use that cap room, i.e., they are going to sign qualifying free agents that would nullify the loss of any qualifying free agents that leave their team. The idea that somehow it would get to the Cam Robinson being able to cash in his loss for a pick, I don't think that is very plausible based on the amount of free agents that you would expect the Vikings to sign using their war chest of salary cap space this offseason. So again, take that off the table. I also saw people arguing, Thor, this isn't a 10-game rental. Why are you saying that? Next year, Christian Darrisaw, he, in September, probably still not going to be able to come back. He probably won't come back till October. You need another tackle to start in September. So this isn't just a 10-game thing. It's next year too. Here's the issue with that. Cam Robinson's coming off a 3-year contract, this being the last 10 games of that 3-year contract. This last season of it was over $20 million. And I think the average annual value of that contract, over $20 million. Do you really think the Vikings are going to delineate more than $20 million per season on a multi-year contract to another offensive tackle? Why would they do that? Why not instead would you give that $20 million to an interior defensive lineman, to a cornerback, some of those positions that you were talking about just a little bit ago, Chris? Why would you do it for September fill-in at offense? And by the way, why would Cam Robinson do that? Hey, Cam, we'll pay you market value. You can start for 1 month, and then the rest of that contract, you're going to be a backup. It would be like both sides would be looking at themselves like, this doesn't make any sense, because it doesn't make any sense. This is a 10-game rental for a 2026 4th round pick. That's what it is. My opinion is that is an overpay. Obviously, I disagree with Vikings Twitter disagrees with me on this, but I feel pretty strongly about that stance.
It's like, the Houston Astros. I'm not comparing Cam Robinson to this player, but, if we're looking at baseball, it's like when the Houston Astros traded for Randy Johnson, right? And he had like a 1.3 ERA or whatever it was in like 1999, something like that. Like that, this is a pure rental. And I agree with you in that case. Let's flip the coin though, because I think a lot of, go ahead.
Well, just one other thing on this, it's a 10-game rental, and it's a 10-game rental. Basically, it's not just Cam Robinson in a vacuum. It's what is the value in the next 10 games? That's it. That's all we're looking at. The next 10 games, what is the value in the difference qualitatively between David Quessenberry and Cam Robinson? And is that discrepancy over the course of 10 games worth a 4th round pick? I don't know how you can argue that, right? Like Quessenberry mostly has been like, the swing tackle guy throughout his career. He did have one season as the full-time starter, in Tennessee. This was 2021. over the course of the entire season. Quessenberry that season put up a 79.2 PFF grade. That's not only a better grade than Cam Robinson has ever posted in any season where he's been the full-time guy. This is going back to 2017. It's more by 10 points. Cam Robinson has never had a 70 PFF grade in any season. Now, I understand the argument for Cam Robinson is he is a better pass blocker than Quessenberry, and that's absolutely true. Cam Robinson, the book on him, it's always been the athletic package in the frame, and that plays well in pass protection. He's not an elite pass protector, far from it, because he has all the technical issues, and that's why the consistency has never been there. But certainly a better pass blocker. He's not nearly the run blocker, and the play-to-play consistency you would probably say is better on the Quessenberry side, while you'd say that the high-end reps and are better on the Robinson side. Again, the discrepancy between those two over the next 10 games, I don't know how you can argue that is worth a fourth-round pick. In particular, when you take all the other factors off the table, his loss is not going to lead to a comp selection. We're not going to be re-signing him in the offseason, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Just convert. All right, you're talking to me against this trade. I like this. This is why I had you on. You were very vocal last night on Twitter with your stance, but here's another thing, and I'll throw this out too. I think one of the things that bothers me the most as a Viking fan was in 2016 when Teddy Bridgewater injured his leg. Sean Hill goes in for a game. They're like, he can't start a full 16 games. What is he doing here then? It's like when they had Sean Mannion as the backup. What is David Quessenberry doing if you don't trust him to start 10 games in a season? And yeah, it sucks. But even then, do you not trust Blake Brandel, who was an elite offensive tackle at Oregon State? Do you not trust moving him over to left tackle and putting Dalton Reisner in there? I'm starting to wonder what the hell's wrong with Dalton Reisner, because he's apparently healthy. Ed Ingram can't hold water in a paper cup right now. Well, actually, he can hold every offensive lineman he comes in contact with, defensive lineman he comes in contact with, but that's another thing. I mean, there are holes all over this offensive line. And you know what? It's almost, we're getting back to that instant sugar high, right? To borrow another Purple Daily catchphrase by Phil Mack, it's a sugar high. It's, oh my God, we got to make the playoffs. And I mean, what would you rather have? Would you rather, go beat Kirk Cousins in Atlanta in the playoffs and everybody can have that to have and to hold? Or would you rather build a long-term contender? See, this is where I'm a little confused on Kwesi's philosophy, because he did say a couple years ago when he took the job, don't go full Rams, don't blow all your draft capital. And that's totally fine. But I also wonder what he meant when he said you want multiple bites at the apple. What type of bites are we talking about? Are we talking about multiple years like the San Francisco 49ers, where you have a certified wagon and you go into the playoffs and you go to the Super Bowl and you do all that? Or are we just trying to take multiple little bites and try and be the New York Giants, going on the road and winning 3 or 4 playoff games and winning a Super Bowl that way? I would rather have the former, and I know it's hard to do, but that also concerns me, because you can look at the hit rate of day 3 picks, and Kwesi has been lighting them on fire, some in good cases, like trading up for JJ McCarthy and Dallas Turner, who I still think will be good whenever he does see the field. But you also have, you can't get a Puka Nacua if you don't have a 5th round pick. So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at here.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you need those tickets to play the game. And the moves that you're talking about, as far as flexibility for him to make the moves that he, trading for Cam Akers 2 straight during the season. And then, the moving around the board, you need draft equity to do that. If you are, again, the 2025 one, you don't have any. You have the 1st rounder, and then you have the 2 5ths. That's literally it right now. They'll get a 3rd round comp in the spring. You can't move it yet. That's all they got in that class. And now you're starting to steal from the 2026 one. It's like the salary cap. You can keep putting it off, but one day the bill comes due, and for the Vikings, that they use this for the reset year. That with the draft picks, it's not a theoretical thing. That's a real asset. And you mentioned some of the different, guys that have been taken in day 3. It doesn't mean that every day 3 pick turns into a bonanza, but when you get one, it's absolutely a bonanza. The Rams took Puka, was it the last pick of the 5th round that year?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and you get 5 years of a player on peanut salary, and then there's value beyond that. And the Vikings fans are like, well, when has that happened to us? Let me tell you a little story about a receiver from the Maryland Terrapins who was a 5-star recruit, was injury riddled in college, and the Vikings took a chance on him in the 5th round, another wide receiver. His name was Stephon Diggs. He gave the Vikings 5 years of Pro Bowl play at a peanut salary, and then was converted into the career of a guy named Justin Jefferson. Right? Like if that pick had been traded in advance, who cares? Let's trade it 2 years in advance. You don't get opportunities like that. We were talking about the running back depth thing before. Two running backs late in day 3 that I loved in this class. But people out there that follow me, they'll know the 2 names I'm going to say. Tyrone Tracy Jr., Kamani Vidal. Love those 2 guys. They were available late on day 3. You need those picks in order to do that, or to cash in, to move around the board if that's how you want to do it then. If you're going to trade them in advance, I'm not saying as a rule that you cannot, for sure. But again, if you're doing it, it has to be in deference to the idea of we can win a Super Bowl this year. How can you argue that the difference between Quessenberry and Robinson, in this case, we're not a Super Bowl contender, but now with Cam Robinson, now we're a Super Bowl contender. What over the course of Cam Robinson's career suggests that that's what he is? Like Cam Robinson, I think, at best, you'd say like he's a serviceable starter at tackle, up and down, bad run blocker, solid-ish pass blocker. Like that's what's turning this thing into a Super Bowl wagon. I don't know about that. And a 4th round pick is nothing to sneeze at, is my point.
And again, this is another example of maybe Kevin O'Connell refusing to adapt his offense, where Sam Darnold, I believe, holds on to the ball longer than any quarterback in the NFL right now. And he's just not like, all right, well, we're going to do quick game. We're going to get the ball out quick. We're going to do all that stuff. Nope. We're going to trade for a left tackle. Last thing on this, and then I got to do an underdog read, and then I'm going to ask you a quick question about the Colts. I was thinking about this year's draft, the 2025 pick. And I mean, I have this train of thought too. I'm just like, okay, you trade your late round picks, just trade down from your 1st round pick. Well, Kwesi and KOC always talk about outcomes and scenarios and outcomes, blah, 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 all that stuff. What if there's like an impact player in the 1st round and you're locked into trading down? So let's say, people look at Ashton Genty and they go, well, he's a running back and you could technically get one in the 4th or 5th round and whatever. Like, are you going to trade down if Ashton Genty's on the board? Like to get Ashton Genty and Justin Jefferson on the same field? It's like, no, you run to the damn podium. But if you don't have any picks and you're locked into trading down, you're passing up on a guy like Ashton Genty, maybe Travis Hunter, maybe one of the defensive tackles who are in this next class, because they were going to pay one, but they're all signed up. Like you said, it's a matter of limiting flexibility. And that's why I don't hate the trade. I'm just on the fence about it. Like, was this a good idea?
I agree with that. Yeah. And I love the point that you made about, theoretically, on the surface, you love when Kwesi says that stuff about like, no matter what happens, we want to put ourselves in a position where there's still multiple paths to the success and you don't want to box yourself in. You love that as a theoretical idea. It makes sense coming from an analytics guy. But some moves he makes, I think you could argue are contradictory to that idea. And this being a great example. And I also love the example, like the specifics you gave of like a scenario for this coming class. I think Genty is a great one, right? Like if the Vikings are picking, I don't know what would they be in the mock drafts now, like 25th or something? Like
sure, 25 range.
Yeah,
let's say that.
We'll just give them the 20th pick, right?
Sure.
Like so, okay, they're picking at 20, and there's this idea, Genty is going to go super duper high. Maybe I do believe he will go in the 1st round, absolutely. But that position, it's really hard to tell. We didn't even know with Bijan. We had no idea where he was. Najee, it was well. Okay, Najee, we knew the Steelers were going to take him, but okay, get rid of that example. But Bijan, like, even if you looked at the 2 days before the mock drafts of everyone in my industry, I remember it because, of course, this is what I do for a living. He was all over the place, right? It was just like throw a dart. Is there a scenario Ashton Jeanty gets to 20? Absolutely. He's a running back. So let's say he gets to 20 and a perfect fit for the Vikings. If Aaron Jones has walked out the door, which I think is beyond theoretically possible, he's on a 1-year deal. Then you're sitting there at 20 and you're like, this might be a generational prospect at a position where we have seen what Aaron Jones did between this year and the running back play last year, how much that elevated the offense, perfect fit, etc. But you're totally right. If you have boxed yourself in of the only way that we can flesh out a class is to cash in the first round asset to move back, let's say somewhere in the top half of the second round, and then we're going to get the other picks, in exchange for that, and then we'll have more or less what looks like a real class. You boxed yourself in on the possibilities. Now you're falling back to the next tier or two of the running backs. If that's what you're going to do, use a day 2 pick on it. You don't have access to a guy like Jeanty, and that's how you're replenishing some of these picks. I think it's a great point, and I totally agree with that.
I'm going to go play Madden right now and put Ashton Jeanty on the Vikings just for my own personal enjoyment. So my God.
I'm
yes.
usually not the first round running back guy, but that guy absolutely deserves to go in the first round. And I don't know how you could think of a better fit for the Vikings offense. Like, he's just a multifaceted player. The efficiency is ridiculous. He also gives you the explosion as well. The athletic package is there. He's impossible to tackle. He's like it's like a pole slicked with grease, but also like just this ball of muscle, and so people like it's like touching an electric fence when a defenders try to tackle him. But yeah, I some of these moves, you do have to think in your head, does that mitigate the possibility that you could pick a prospect like that, or like a prospect like Deion Walker or Benjamin Morrison, or some of these guys that you could project, could they get to in the early 20s, whatever? And have the Vikings given themselves are they in a position to just stand pat if a great player falls down to them there? Or have they put themselves in a position where you've essentially handcuffed yourself, where you don't have a choice? You have to trade back, but such as Kwesi thought in his very first draft. There was a perfect player for him there in Kyle Hamilton. That's a player that everybody was mocking to the Vikings. It was like, oh, the skies have opened, and it's absolutely the guy that you need, and you can put him next to Harry the Hitman. They both went to Notre Dame. They're both heady players. Like, this is perfect. But Kwesi felt like, oh, the situation we're in, even if the perfect prospect is available to us, we're not able to take him because we need more fortification of the picks and that sort of stuff, and to multiply the amount of players, and you end up trading a Ferrari for 2 lemons, essentially.
Yes, very, very much so. I gotta get paid quick, so I gotta do this quick underdog read, and then I got one more quick question for you, because underdog is the place to play if you're a sports fan looking to win money while watching sports. Over 5 million happy players and $2 billion won. Underdog makes it fun and easy to cash in on all your athletes' favorite performances. Compete against other players by just selecting higher or lower or on 2 or more players' stats, and you can win up to 1,000 times your money. So turn every touchdown into a win with Underdog. Underdog is the place to cash in on all of your football takes this season. Which players are going off? Which ones are ice cold? Make your entries in just a few taps and turn your sports opinions into money. Underdog also has vulture protection. If you select a designated running back to score TD in your pick'em entry and they get vultured, they will rescue your entry. And also, Underdog has a game known as Red Zone Rush, a game you won't find anywhere else. Just pick whether or not a player will score a touchdown by swiping right for yes or left for no. It's as simple as that. Plus, your entry will automatically be boosted, and you'll get a 51% profit boost when you play. I've actually been using the Underdog Fantasy app for multiple years. Their app is super easy to use, and guess what? I may have picked Anthony Edwards threes last night, and I hit it in the first quarter. You got a freebie on the site. You pick one, boom, you get some money. Bottom line, download the app today. Use the promo code The Age to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Again, download the app today and use the code The Age to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Select higher or lower on your favorite players and cash in on Underdog. You must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. If you are concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, 1-800-639-8783, or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. Thor, I was going to ask you about the Vikings and the Colts here to wrap up, but we're kind of running short on time. All I'm going to say is Anthony Richardson's now going to have plenty of time to rest because he's been benched. Vikings going to win this game or what?
Yeah, I mean, I would, if they don't, I'm going to feel even worse about everything, going on here. But you would have to think so. I mean, Flacco, obviously short-term upgrade there, but how do the Colts have enough here to come into Minnesota and win this game? And obviously this is a all hands on deck desperation type game for the Vikings. And you're coming off extra rest after having played on Thursday. The Colts are mired in some drama. They're coming on the road. Feel like the situation is better for the Vikings if you can pick up the pieces. So I would expect this to be a W. If it's not, it is time to hit every alarm in sight.
The alarms at TCO, the full Rams button, hit the full new first round pick, Dexter Lawrence.
They better not do that,
yes.
or else I'm going to be jumping in the pond out back.
Hey man, before I let you go, what's going on at Fantasy Life right now?
You can find check out our Saturday live show. We start at 9 a.m. Central. Go to 10:30 a.m. Central, but give out all of our college football picks for the day, our prop picks, take audience questions, stuff like that. And then the rest of the week at Fantasy Live, as far as my stuff goes, it's a bunch of stuff to help you bet on college football. You were mentioning Underdog before. I enjoy Underdog and some of those sites. I am on them every single day because of the college football pick'ems. I love doing the props. I put out a ton of prop picks every single week. So you can check that out on Fantasy Life as well. We put in our bets right when we lock them in. So yeah, check us out at Fantasy Life.
When I say I use Underdog every day, that is not part of the ad read. That is a true statement. I love Underdog. I love making the picks. I love the props. I love people like you that give us information to make the props. And I love you for coming on this show, Thor. This is the Viking Age podcast. He is Thor Nystrom at Thor KU, just like the Jayhawk on his helmet there. I am Chris Schad at the Real Chris Schad. We do this every Monday with a late week episode right here on the Viking Age YouTube channel. And we're also in podcast form on Apple and Spotify the very next day. But however you consume us, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe so you never miss an episode and we can spread the word to the masses. For Thor Nystrom, I am Chris Schad. This has been the Viking Age podcast.